We get a check of the Mets lineup. It's brought to you by Geico. Jose Bautista out in right field again. He's batting second. Michael Conforto in left field. He's in the cleanup spot. Dominic Smith has not played since last Tuesday. He's in the lineup tonight. We had heard Mickey Callaway say he might DH here in Toronto. He's at first base. He's batting seventh.
Well, they thought with Dominic Smith at first base, Flores as the DH, he gives them a little better defense, which they've struggled with all season long. The Toyota numbers. Down to 2.35 in June, and he's another piece of this puzzle for the Blue Jays. If he pitches well, he could be on the trade block. Defensively, behind Estrada, you can see their defense. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., yes, that's Yulieski Gurriel from the Astros, Gurriel from the Astros brother. And center field Kevin Pillar 2 days ago had one of the greatest catches you'll ever see against Castellanos. He can get on his horse and he can go get him.
Got to be honest, I was startled briefly there by the horse. Brandon Nimmo getting set to lead it off for the Mets. Nimmo just won for his last 18 since he was hit on the hand by that pitch by Rich Hill of the Dodgers. And so we're set to go here in Toronto. First pitch on the way, and in there for a called strike one.
Shift right away against Nimmo. Three guys on the right side of the diamond. You see the third baseman Solarte backing up at this point after one strike. You'll see a lot of change-ups from Estrada.
Nimmo lays down the bunt. It's going to drop foul.
Good idea by Brandon. Once they backed up after the first strike, it was wide open. Didn't have to be as perfect as he was, or tried to be, because that's why he ended up with the foul ball.
Marco Estrada coming off a no decision last time out against the Astros. Struck out just one. He broke his streak of 4 consecutive quality starts. Here's the 0-2 from Estrada.
Interesting in the shift now. Gurriel has moved back to the shortstop position. Solarte has gone to the second base position as Bautista gets loose.
And a swing and a miss, strike 3, and Brandon Nimmo goes down on strikes.
Estrada is one of the few pitchers I have seen that's able to change speeds on his changeup.
Jose Bautista saluting the crowd here, his first time back as a visiting player since 2004.
Now that's how you give a standing O.
And well deserved. As I mentioned at the outset, those 288 home runs in a Blue Jays uniform, second only to the former Met Carlos Delgado. And the shift on the left side of the infield now.
It was interesting when they had the video tribute. All the Mets players were watching it. All the Blue Jays players were watching. The only one who didn't watch it was Marco Estrada. And why would you if you're the pitcher who has to face Bautista?
Well, Bautista with a .418 on base percentage since joining the Mets back on May the 22nd. He's become an everyday player for Mickey Callaway.
Well, this is the right person for Estrada, and it should help Wheeler also. Jim Wolf, the home plate umpire, is a pitcher's umpire. He hunts for strikes. He'll give you a little off the edges, and Estrada needs that to be successful. There's the umpires.
And Bautista takes ball 4, and so the Mets have their first base runner of the night. .766 RBIs. That's third all time. 790 runs scored, and a big part of 2 really tremendous teams here in Toronto. Both were in some ways a little bit disappointed because they didn't go to the World Series, knocked off by the Royals. in the championship series in 2015, and then by the Indians in 2016. Cabrera gives it a charge out to right field. That is up, and that is gone. Asdrubal Cabrera, his 15th home run of the season, and the Mets have a quick 2-0 lead.
Well, I believe that was a changeup, and when you have a wily veteran up there like Cabrera, who's faced Estrada a lot, sometimes you can sit on a pitch, and I don't know if he sat on that changeup. Got it a little off the end, but still had enough to get it out. No, it was kind of a sinking fastball away. I was wrong, and Cabrera was on it. Pretty good pitch to be able to hit for a 2-run home run. Roof open, ball really travels in this ballpark.
Home runs in back-to-back games now for Asdrubal Cabrera. Hit his 14th of the season on Sunday in Miami, and then number 15 tonight. Those 14 homers were hit in 168 less at-bats than he hit his 14 a season ago. So much more productive. Michael Conforto is at bat, and something is going on here with Estrada.
Well, the gun read on his fastball 85 miles an hour, and he's a guy who does not throw hard, but he certainly doesn't throw 85 with his fastball, and the trainer is out to see what exactly is going on, and Gibbons noticed it right away, and now the trainer relaying to Gibbons that he's going to have to get another pitcher. I think that this was entirely gun related. He threw a fastball, it was 85, threw a couple of changeups in the dirt, and walks off dejected.
Just 11 pitches here for Marco Estrada as he exits. So whoever is going to enter this game for the Blue Jays is going to have as much time as they need to warm up. So this call to the bullpen is brought to you by Verizon. Marco Estrada is finished. New pitcher on the way for the Jays. Dealers, Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. By the Tri-State Farm agent of the game, Pat Cawley of Glendale, New York. Contact Pat at patcawley.com. And by Hyundai, get a great deal more than a great deal on all new Hyundai vehicles. See your Hyundai dealer today. Get to MCU Park tomorrow, July the 4th, to watch the Coney Island Fireworks Spectacular right from your seat. The first 2,000 fans will also receive an American flag cap courtesy of SNY. For tickets, visit brooklyncyclones.com. Jake Petrishka is the new pitcher for the Blue Jays, 29 years old, young man from Northfield, Illinois. Pitched an inning over the weekend on Saturday against the Tigers.
You know, you mentioned it before. He'll have as much time as he can following an injury to get ready. Indiana State product. He's been with the Chicago White Sox, who was drafted in the second round in 2010, had 181 games with the Pale Hose, and now is going to take over for Estrada in the first inning. Don't know if it's arm-related, neck-related. It's just that Estrada, when he walked off the mound, was in an unusual, painful position. So it was hard to tell what exactly was wrong.
Show on the road in Toronto, presented by Old Dominion, Lake Ontario. On the banks of Lake Ontario, the 5th largest city in North America. When you talk about Toronto, well, just a few tidbits here. It's Canada's largest city. In fact, as I mentioned, 5th largest in North America, behind, Ronnie, Mexico City, New York, Chicago, LA, and Los Angeles.
There you go.
Babe Ruth hit his first pro home run. Hanlon's Point Stadium here.
And if you come here, you have to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's amazing. Insulin is diabetes treatment. That's interesting for my family.
So Petrishka takes over with an 0-2 count here on Michael Conforto with the Mets. A 2-0 lead, and the first pitch is swung on by Conforto. Sam Holbrook down at third base confirms it.
Petrishka gets the K. You know what's interesting, folks at home? What are relievers doing when the call comes in the first inning and you're not expecting it? They're getting their gum, they're getting their seeds, they're having fun in the bullpen, kidding around with each other. And when that phone goes off, everyone looks around panicked. Like, who's it going to be? Jake, get up. Oh, no. I mean, that's kind of how it is out in the bullpen.
Wilmer Flores steps in for the Mets. How does it change the equation, Ronnie? You're expecting to see a guy in Estrada who doesn't throw all that hard, and then here's Petrishka. He's got a fastball in the mid-90s.
Well, you know what's interesting, and maybe John Gibbons could not do that tonight, but a lot of managers will come in with a left-hander for a while to turn the entire lineup around, because Mickey Callaway set up his lineup to face a right-handed pitcher, and many will counter a lefty when an injury occurs.
Here's the 2-0 pitch, hit on the ground to shortstop. That's Gurriel. Fires and gets his man for the third out. But the Mets do damage. The Cabrera homer makes it 2-0.
times as a Met, leading off for the home run. He's had a good, solid year. Teoscar Hernandez, I think, has been their best player all season long. Smoke an all-star last year, maybe this year. Russell Martin, their veteran, has had a tough go of it. It's the Hyundai lineup. Here's the Land Rover above and beyond numbers for Zach Wheeler this year. The numbers don't show it. 2 and 6, not good. 4.47, not good. But he has been better of late, more aggressive in the strike zone. Has an idea now.
Back-to-back outings of 7 innings for Zach Wheeler. Curtis Granderson takes a called strike on the inside corner from Zach Wheeler. Well, Wheeler's velocity has been up. Hit 99 on the gun last time out against the Pirates. Hit in the air to left field. Michael Conforto started back, now coming in, makes the catch, and that's the first out.
Well, defensively for the Mets, I know this weekend you spent a lot of time talking about the defense. The Mets are 28th this year in defensive runs saved, -56, and in fielding percentage at .979. That is going to have to get better if you're going to back your pitching staff.
Teoscar Hernandez, the left fielder, in to face Wheeler. Drove in the Jays' first run yesterday in their loss to the Tigers.
Hernandez spent the good part of the initial part of the year as their right fielder. They had Steve Pearce, who they recently traded the Red Sox, and Granderson really platooning in left field. Now Hernandez has moved to left.
Little roller out in front of the mound. Wheeler bounces off, and 2 down.
There won't be another Mets starting pitcher who won't bounce off on a ball to the right side, I bet you, the rest of the year.
Well, the Flores and DeGrom, it was so egregious, Ron. I mean, that's Flores' ball all the way. But he has not played he's not a natural first baseman. I'm not making in any way any excuses there.
Yeah.
But it's an indictment in many ways of the defense that you spoke about a moment ago.
You know, I think that DeGrom spoke volumes and said that it was his ball. And you know why it's his ball? Because most of the time when he takes the mound, he's probably one of your best athletes on the field.
Yangervis Solarte goes around. Solarte leads the Jays in hits and home runs and RBI so far this year.
Well, we saw Solarte mostly do some of his best work in San Diego, but he has continued it here north of the border.
Well, it's just 3 behind his career high when it comes to home runs beginning plate tonight. 15 homers, 45 RBIs on the season.
A little bit behind pitching here, Gary. He can't catch up to the fastball, so if you do throw him a breaking ball, it's got to be in the dirt.
Here's the 1-2.
Good job. And why do I say that? If you throw a slider for a strike, he's been behind the fastball. That slider speed bat will speed up his bat.
We see the shift to the right side on Solarte, and the count goes full.
That's a split finger there at 93 miles an hour.
Well, he's throwing that splitter just 3 or 4% of the time, but when he throws it, it's been very effective for Zach Wheeler. That one's hit on the ground into the shift. Ahmed Rosario. And so an easy inning for Zach Wheeler. 1, 2, 3 as we go to the second. Matt Petrishka back to the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. Frazier, Smith, and Mesoraco due up here for the Mets in the top of the second.
Petrishka, a guy throws really across his body from the stretch, has a lot of good sink on his fastball. Gary, our guys in the truck catch everything here. So as soon as Frazier gets his base hit,
I love the optimism, Ronnie.
Knock on wood. We'll show you something about Estrada.
That's in there for a called strike, and the count evens at 2 on Todd Frazier.
Frazier has had a tough go of it since coming back off the DL from that bad hamstring.
Did have a strong game Sunday down in Miami. A walk, a single, and a double. Drove in a run. On the ground to shortstop. That's Gurriel, a high throw, and Frazier cannot get back to the bag as Smoke missed the first time and then put on the tag on the second try.
You know, it's one of the few times, and we say it, this is one of the few times that you do want to slide into first base. If you see that first baseman coming off the bag and you can do it in time, real time, you want to get down. But I don't think Todd had a chance to do that.
Well, as you're coming down that bag, Ronnie, do you know in time, I mean, are you looking at the play at short? Can you see that that's going to be a high throw? How do you make sense of that?
A lot of times as a veteran player, you know that's a piece of cake for the shortstop. That shouldn't have been a hard play for Gurriel, although he made it at the 1.
Dominic Smith getting his first start since Tuesday against the Pirates. Smith had that cortisone injection into his wrist that has been bothering him. The shift is on for Smith.
This is what we were talking about before. Our truck does not miss a thing. This is Marco Estrada warming up before the game. See how he's shaking out that elbow before he throws and after he throws a pitch? That right there was the indication that he was not right before this start. Good job, guys.
That ball's hammered out into right field. That's a fair ball going to go all the way into the corner. Randall Grichuk digs it out in a stand-up double for Dominic Smith.
Well, a good start for Dominic, and boy, he needs it. He's been here a while. We know he got a cortisone shot for his wrist, but that's not the reason he hasn't been hitting well, and only 1 RBI. It's time for him to, it's kind of a put up or shut up time, because if he doesn't, he might find himself back in Vegas.
That brings up Devin Mesoraco, who's hitting .224 on the season. Well, Pat Rustler has been working with Dominic Smith, moving him in on the plate a little bit, Ron. Try to change the swing path.
Well, I like that. Looking for the ball more middle of the plate in, because you can't cover the outside part.
That ball's hammered out into left field. That is up, and that is gone. Devin Mesoraco going yard. The 2-run shot to give the Mets a 4-0 lead. His 7th home run of the year as a Met, and his 8th of the year overall. He had one with Cincinnati before the trade for Matt Harvey.
Well, this is what you were expecting all season long from this Mets ball club, that they'd have the ability to put someone on and knock them in with a long ball. And Mesoraco did not miss that sinking fastball that did not sink. He has that little sit, and that's where he generates the power from his backside and legs. Hit that ball over the wall. I mean, contact by Mesoraco. We've seen him hit a lot of balls hard, but he hasn't always got it in the air. And he knew, the pitcher knew, who never looked at that home run, just wanted a new baseball.
Got Rosario down to third. Solarte backs up, plenty of time.
Well, Gary, you got to have the Jeep pitch cast when a guy hits a home run.
Yes.
That's just what we do. And that sinking fastball started outside and stayed over the middle of the plate instead of down and in where he gets the ground ball. Trishka's had home run issues his entire career.
So back to the top of the lineup for the Mets. Brandon Nimmo struck out to lead off this game. Dozen homers, 25 RBIs on the year for Brandon.
Last year, Trishka for the Chicago White Sox, in only 25 2/3 innings, gave up 6 home runs.
That's not so good.
That's like 48 to 50 a year if you're a starting pitcher. No, not good.
Here's the 1-1. Taken up high and outside. Brandon Nimmo beginning this night 6th in the National League with an OPS of .909. 2-1 down to first. Smoke steps on the bag, but the Mets do more damage. Devin Mesoraco, a 2-run shot. It's 4-0 New York. Justin Smoke leads it off for the Blue Jays. Smoke has an RBI in 4 consecutive games. That ties his career high. First pitch headed out into left center field. Nimmo gliding over, takes command, and that's the first out as we send it down to the field. Justine Ward filling in for Steve Gelbs, who I understand is sunning himself in Bermuda. Justine, good to see you.
Hey, Gary, thank you. Well, the Mets don't see turf all that often. This is the first time they've seen it this season, and there's definitely an adjustment for them, especially those outfielders. I know Michael Conforto early on today went out there, wanted to get a feel for the bounce because things can bounce out very easily. We also know that the Mets third base coach, Glenn, he took some time with Jose Bautista, who has a very good feel for things defensively in this ballpark. So it's something they're aware of, and I'm sure it's something the Blue Jays are aware of too. Look for some aggressive base running from the Blue Jays.
Kevin Pillar out in front, and there's Todd Frazier charging and firing, and that's the second out.
Great look, Justine. You know what's interesting about this ballpark? When I played on it in the early 90s, when they had a great ball club, this was one of the bounciest AstroTurf in all of baseball, but it completely changed. I went on the field today and took a baseball and just bounced it, and when you used to bounce it in the early 90s, it would bounce over your head. Here it bounces maybe to your waist when you throw it down. So a whole different field. When they first put it in a couple of years ago, it was so slow that the hitters were complaining.
Just one of 2 parks now, right, in the majors with AstroTurf here and in Tampa. First pitch hammered out into right field. Bautista makes the dive and he makes the catch. Quite a homecoming for Jose Bautista, who lays out for the 3rd out. Another 1-2-3 inning for Zach Wheeler. 6 up and 6 down one more time. Bautista had it played. No trouble out there in right field. Zach Wheeler likes the defense. Very appreciative. Only apropos after this catch.
Just concentrate on his right arm. Watch his right arm, how he tucks it underneath and kind of shoves it through to make sure when he lands on that hard AstroTurf that he doesn't hurt that right shoulder or his right forearm or wrist. Only a guy who grew up playing a lot of games on AstroTurf would know that physical move.
Jose Bautista walked in the first inning. 25 walks now for Bautista. Jake Petrushka relieved Marco Estrada in that first inning. Estrada threw just a dozen pitches before he left, and now there's activity in the Blue Jays bullpen. Preston Guillemette is going to be essentially a bullpen game for the Jays.
With Estrada as the opener.
Even in a bullpen game, you expect a little bit more from your starter. The 1-2 on the way. That one's hit out into right center field. Randall Grichuk glides in, and that's the first out.
Well, unlike the National League, where you kind of time your relief pitching by when he's going to come up to hit at the plate, you don't have to do that here. You kind of bring guys in as you please.
Asdrubal Cabrera went yard in the first inning, his 15th home run of the season, a no doubter. So that's more home runs than he hit all of last year, and we're not even to the All-Star game yet. Once again, the shift on Cabrera.
Well, you know, if you think about it, I think DeGrom's going to go to the All-Star game, definitely going to be a representative for the Mets. Cabrera probably deserves an All-Star nod, but when you're a fourth-place team, sometimes you only get one representative. Well, those are those projections for this year. Those are All-Star quality. 28.90 from a second baseman.
A second baseman who, quite frankly, has had physical issues, right? And question is, will he be finishing those numbers in a Mets uniform? He's been talked about quite a bit as a potential trade piece if the Mets open the store for business, which we expect they're going to do.
Well, remember the history of last year. Cabrera was the guy that was, as you see the heads changing, because Solarte is going to move to second base and Gurriel back to short. Cabrera was the guy that was going to be moved first last year, and he never was moved at all.
Cabrera takes it outside, so the Mets have a base runner here in the third. That brings up Michael Conforto. He struck out in the first as we get a look at the shift, and only one on the left side of the infield.
It's not even the regular shift. They'll have a shift when no one's on base where the second baseman or that position will be out in the outfield. But with a double play in line, everyone's on the skin of the infield. I don't even know people call that the skin.
They
anymore.
do. Absolutely.
Okay,
sure.
good.
Absolutely.
They've changed so much. I'm not sure.
Cabrera leads off first, and Petrushka falls behind 2-0.
Well, big pitch in the game for Petrushka. He's a guy that the ball is always going to move from the middle of the plate away. Conforto is so strong when he's right, going that way. Well, you can see the reason they play this shift is all you have to see is the numbers. All right, 21% there are in green. All the rest are up the middle and to the pull side. That's why they play the shift against Michael Conforto. It doesn't come out of fresh air.
So do organizations need to change, Ron, the way players, when they come up from the minors, are trained so that when they get here in today's culture, they go the other way? They find the gaps. They try to battle against the shift. That one's hit down to first. Smoke to second for one. Back to first, and a double play as Michael Conforto is erased. 3-6-3 on the double play. I'll get your answer on that when we come back. This season with a special ticket offer. 4 tickets for $48. The offer in select seating areas is valid for all home games through Sunday, July 15th, subject to availability. For tickets, visit Mets.com/DeGrom. We go bottom third here in Toronto. Randall Grichuk leads it off for the Jays.
Well, he was a Mets killer when he was in a St. Louis Cardinals uniform. He has had a tough go. In fact, has been sent down to AAA, has been injured. He has the numbers as far as the home runs are concerned, 10, but the average just above 200.
Well, look at Zach Wheeler. Last 11 starts. He hasn't picked up a victory since all the way back on April the 29th.
You got it right.
But his numbers have been much better than that. And in that second inning, he needed just 4 pitches to get through it. I mean, he looks like a much more confident pitcher. And we hear that word so much from the Mets down at the dugout. Conviction. He's throwing with conviction. Swing and a miss. First strikeout of the night for Zach Wheeler.
I was talking to Toronto folks, and they said that has been Grichuk's Achilles heel. The breaking ball off the plate, can't hit it, but he always swings at it. You know, all these scouts that come to Citi Field, or if I see them here at a visiting ballpark, they're all my age. They're guys I played against. I've known them for years. And the one person they ask me about all the time is not DeGrom, not Syndergaard, not Cabrera. It's Zach Wheeler. Some want him as a starter. Some might trade for him as a closer, even though he's never done it.
Lourdes Gurriel Jr. As Ronnie mentioned a little while ago, the brother of Yuli Gurriel of the Astros. Tapper down to third, goes foul.
Gurriel Sr. was probably in the top 5 players that ever played for the Cuban national team. He won every single award and batting titles and everything you could ever think about. And what a baseball family.
Brothers defected, if I'm not mistaken, during the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, same day.
Wheeler ahead on Gurriel, 1-2. That one's up high.
Only 98.
Well, it's free and easy, right? I mean, it does not look like any sort of a screen. It's coming out of his hands. His hand really strong, and late life, he's got giddy up on that fastball.
I think it all comes back to his mechanics. I think Zach had a very telling sentence he said about his pitching. He said he didn't think post-surgery that 98 was in his arm ever again. And because of the work with Island and Callaway, his mechanics are tight, and that's what's resulting in these great velocity readings.
Can't forget, when it comes to Zach Wheeler, he was the 6th pick in the draft, right, by the San Francisco Giants. Came over to the Mets in the Beltran deal. 3-2 pitch, and Gurriel stays alive. So a lot of high acclaim there, right? High acumen coming out when he was drafted. And listen, he missed over 2 years, Ronnie, with the Tommy John surgery.
I was thinking, you know, the years he missed were his 24, 25, 26. Those years, I got almost 50 wins and almost over 100 starts. You can't make up for that kind of repetition.
On the ground to shortstop, Rosario. And that's the second out here in the 3rd inning.
5 outs on the ground for Wheeler, so he's got a nice late life on his fastball this evening.
That brings up the second baseman, Devin Travis, 27-year-old Devin Travis. He's been pretty good in his career in interleague play, a career .365 hitter in interleague games.
Saw his on-base percentage, though, .272. So it tells you that Devin Travis comes here to hit. He doesn't come here to walk, to work the count. He wants to swing the bat.
Zach Wheeler has retired the first 8 batters that he has faced here at Rogers Center tonight. Here's the 1-1 pitch.
99 miles an hour.
Last time out against the Pirates, Zach induced 22 swings and misses. That was a career high for him.
So when you throw 2 fastballs like that, Gary, one's fouled back straight, your options now are throw the hammer on him, the breaking ball, or come inside. Those are your 2 options.
That a little flare. Back goes Rosario. Got a good jump on it, and he makes the play. Great job by Ahmed Rosario. Read it really well off the bat. So again, 3 up and 3 down as we go to the 4th. Just outside Rogers Center in downtown Toronto, Canada. Gary Apple alongside Ron Darling. It's good to be out of the studio. Nothing against the studio. It's my bread and butter, but nice to be out for a couple of days and with you, Ronnie.
When you're in the booth, you can speak the truth, Gary. Don't worry about it.
Well, Gerard will not be happy back in the studio.
Yep, I have
to make Guilfoyle, our fine coordinating producer back there, might not love that.
You don't have to make the commute all the way downtown, only to Toronto. 5-hour delay if it's me.
Oh, you had a tough time last night. Preston Guillemette is the new pitcher here for the Blue Jays.
You know, he was having a good season in Memphis. He was claimed off waivers from the St. Louis Cardinals and made his debut with the Blue Jays just a few days ago.
Wilmer Flores leads it off for the Mets here in the 4th inning.
Well, Flores DHing tonight. If you didn't hear it before, Mickey Callaway thought his best defense is with Dominic Smith at first. Flores at DH. I concur.
Here's the 1-1 from Guillemette to Flores, and it's outside. So Wilmer has driven in 9 runs in his past 8 games, a dozen RBI in his last 13.
With Guillemette, you'll see mostly sliders, throws it 40% of the time, 3% more than his fastball.
That ball's hit hard out into center field. Back goes Pilar to the track, to the wall, and it is gone. 3rd home run of the night for the New York Mets. Wilmer Flores, his 7th home run of the year, and the Mets have expanded their lead to 5-0.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, the Mets are very happy that they opened this roof as the ball is really traveling tonight. And you always have to wait on that home run call when Kevin Pilar is tracking him down, because you just never know, he might make a play. He's that good. Just center cut for Wilmer, and he did not miss it. Now, when you don't play in a ballpark a lot, you're not sure if it's out or not. But watch Pilar. You use that outfield wall. We stopped it there. He'll use it as a springboard. Remember when you were a kid and you couldn't dunk? So you'd kind of kick off the garage,
yes,
so you'd go higher and dunk? Well, that's what Pilar did there, but that ball was long gone.
Well, that's what he did over the weekend for one of the best catches of the year in all of baseball. Took that home run away from Nick Castellanos of the Tigers. And I was amazed when I heard that it was just the third time in the history of this ballpark that a home run has been robbed. I mean, the walls here are relatively high. So as you saw, he kicked off the wall and did the same thing, take the home run away from Castellanos. That ball's hit on the ground to third. Solarte, an easy play to retire Todd Frazier.
Here's the catch you were talking about off Nick Castellanos. So earlier it hit a grand slam in the game, but Pilar denied him another home run.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I mean, that is as nice as it gets.
And exactly what you were talking about, Ronnie. He kicked his foot off the wall to just get him up in the air a little bit higher.
He's just a great athlete. The best center fielder I ever saw here was Devon White. In their heyday in the early 90s, Devon White was as good as any center fielder in the game, and Pilar could be better. He might be better. Might not have the speed of Devon White, but certainly the athletic ability to catch everything.
Well, that was one of the best catches in all of baseball this year. Dominic Smith doubled in his first at bat in the second inning and scored on the Devin Mesoraco home run.
You know, part of being a good center fielder or outfielder that robs catches is that you have to be fearless. You know, at some point your body is going to take a beating if you're a guy who's fearless and will challenge the wall, and Pilar does that often.
That ball's hit out into center field. Pilar froze for a moment. Now he comes in, and that's the second out of the inning.
Folks, watch the weight shift of Wilmer Flores. Probably the best on the team in his ability to stand up straight. Watch him just sit back on that back right hip and back right knee and explode into the baseball. That transference of all that energy and power is what makes Wilmer, when you look at him, he's kind of tall and lean. That's what makes him a power hitter. I shouldn't say power hitter, have that kind of power.
You know, Wilmer's another name that you hear as somebody who could potentially be dealt, and I can't remember a player, as Mesoraco takes a called strike to even the count at 1. I can't remember a player who wanted to remain a member of this organization as much as Wilmer did. Maybe Zach Wheeler, who called the general manager, Sandy Alderson, at the time and said, "Don't trade me, please." That one's popped up behind home and out of play, but Wilmer, 16 years old, right? Signed with the organization. Didn't want to leave.
Well, I think we tend to forget because we just went through the draft, so a lot of attention is paid to, you know, college kids and high school kids who don't even play high school baseball. They have their own track to come to the pros.
That one's hit out into left field.
But I think we forget about, you know, taking a young man away from his home and sticking him in Idaho somewhere, and he's on his own to make himself great. Wilmer's done that.
Teoscar Hernandez makes the catch. The Flores homer makes it 5-0. player to play for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Good question.
Well, I know it's not Russell Martin, who's a member of the Blue Jays now, who was born in East York, Ontario, and makes his home, I think, in Quebec now. Zach Wheeler has been flawless so far, 9 up and 9 down. Curtis Granderson leads it off here in the 4th inning. Mets have hit 3 home runs. The Blue Jays, nothing so far. Jays are just 2-22 in games this year when they have not homered.
Well, that's a good hammer he's got working there. 2-1 curveball to Granderson that he had to take. Here's the shift.
Curtis Granderson, 3.5 years with the New York Mets. Big part of that 2015 team that went to the World Series.
4 years, $60 million contract, and when he was originally signed, he really was supposed to be the guy that was going to hit behind David Wright and protect him, and he ended up spending most of his time leading off for the Mets.
21 leadoff home runs in a Mets uniform, and Granderson draws the walk, first base runner of the night for the Blue Jays. That brings up Teoscar Hernandez, the left fielder. Hernandez is an extra base threat. He's got 6 triples on the season. Last year, the Blue Jays as a team had only 5. Granderson leads off first.
So with Flores' home run now, since coming out to DL, Wilmer has reached base safely in all 17 games.
Just to put into perspective how impressive Teoscar Hernandez has been, the last Blue Jay to have more triples before the All-Star break was Robbie Alomar back in 1995.
There was a time where Robbie Alomar, you could consider him the best player in the league in baseball.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. That one's hit into center field for a base hit. Granderson around second, on his way to third. Hernandez going to try to stretch it into a double, and he is out at second base.
He wants a review, and I think he's safe. It was a great throw by Nimmo. Nice tag by Cabrera, but I thought the tag was high. Let's see what DeMarlo Hale on the phone and John Gibbons, the Blue Jays manager, think. First, we got to go to the swing. Nice hitting by Hernandez. Sinker did not get in. Beautiful short cut, and he splits the outfielders. So easily Granderson is going to go first to third, and Hernandez, down 5, tries to take the extra base. I thought the tag was high, and so did the Blue Jays, who are going to want a review.
Well, the throw came in on the third base side of second base, and Cabrera had to reach back around to make the tag. The question is it indisputable, Ronnie?
It's indisputable to me.
He might have gotten the toe before the rest of the foot hit that bag.
I think you could be right, but I try to judge these things myself. I try to judge them in real time, because we're showing you folks 3, 4, 5, 6 looks because that's what we do. We're TV. But the difficult part for umpires is trying to figure out in real time. And I thought he missed the toe and that he got his foot in.
You might be right, and they're going to take a look at it back at the bunker in Chelsea.
I mean, for Teoscar Hernandez, he's got to be safe for his own sake because he's down 5 runs trying to take this extra base.
Boy, no, I think he got the glove on the toe.
You got it. You got it.
And
good
indeed
call.
He did.
I was wrong.
Second base umpire Ryan Blakeney was right on it. There just was, first of all, I think he was out, but secondly, certainly not enough to overturn it.
Well, it becomes a bad play by Hernandez, down 5 runs, of course. And nice tag by Cabrera. I thought it was a little late, but it was not. He caught the toe, as you said, Gary.
So Granderson at third with 1 out here in the 4th inning.
The Mets infield, of course, will be back. Allow Granderson as big a lead as he wants. They'll give up the run, of course.
Very good play by Brandon Nimmo. Hustled over to it. That was an 8-4 put out to get Teoscar Hernandez at second base.
Nimmo, if for anything else, has been extremely aggressive in center field. Assertive.
That went on the inside corner, and Wheeler gets ahead at 1-2.
This is where, as a pitcher, you want to get greedy. It's 1-2. Your infield's back. You want to punch out or pop up. Never want to give up runs. Doesn't matter what the score is.
For Zach Wheeler, this is his first start all time here at Rogers Center. Granderson again leads off third. And Mesoraco cannot hang on, so we'll do it again.
Nice ratio there of strikes to balls for Zach.
Wheeler very pitch efficient so far. Needed just 4 pitches to get through that 2nd inning. Med Rosario on the right side of second base. And Wheeler took something off it, and Solarte chases.
You know what was so good about that pitch sequence for Zach Wheeler is that when you face Zach, you're facing 97, 98, 99, right? So you expect him that when he's pitching to you, you're going to see a fastball. You're not going to see him double up on his breaking ball very often. That's what exactly what he did to Solarte.
So Zach now an out away from getting out of this, and Justin Smoke, who flied out to center field in the 2nd inning. Wheeler consistently free and easy here, 97, 98. Just misses outside.
Don't forget that we know Smoke has got some history against Wheeler. Wheeler knows that too.
And Wheeler falls behind 3-0.
If I'm the Blue Jays, even though 5-0, I wouldn't. You got to get more runners on base. So would not give the hit sign even to their best hitter. 3-0.
4th 3-ball count for Zach Wheeler, and a fastball on the outside corner. Kevin Pillar waits on deck. He would be next. And that one on the inside corner, 92.
It's a little almost cut fastball that Wheeler threw there, surprising Smoke.
Three infielders on the right side. Here's the 3-2 offering now from Wheeler. And it's up high, and 2 base runners now for the Blue Jays.
You know, we talked about hitters knowing when they've had good success against the pitcher. And this is May in New York, smoke off Wheeler, a 2-run home run. And then later in that game, he was able to hit this ball over the head of Juan Lagares. Remember him? He used to play center field for the Mets until he got hurt. That was a 2-run double. So not only does the hitter know it, but the pitcher knows it more so.
And that was that awful Wednesday afternoon with the rain coming down, and Zach was on the bench for 27 minutes as they tended to the field. First pitch, a little number out in front of the plate. Mesoraco out quickly and fires to get Kevin Pillar, and the Blue Jays strand 2. So a couple of walks and a single, but no damage as we go to the 5th. Standing building in the Western Hemisphere.
You are a Chamber of Commerce person's
I love
dream,
this city.
Gary.
Toronto's a great city. It's not New York, but it's a great city.
Nothing to complain about here. Beautiful.
And the amazing thing is, we were at dinner last night. Our fine producer, Greg Picker, was kind enough to invite me out to dinner with the rest of the crew. And we came out of dinner at 9:30. It was still light outside.
Nice.
I mean, I guess we're in the most western part of the Eastern time zone, right?
Well, I was in a 5-hour hell in LaGuardia, so it was dark all day to me.
I was hoping you would join us at dinner last night as Ahmed Rosario leads it off here for the Mets in the 5th inning.
Well, if you go by past LaGuardia, you know, folks, that they're redoing everything, and it's going to be beautiful. Just the part I was in was something out of 1951, and it was just awful. No place to eat, no place to get a drink, and you just kind of sat there for 5 hours and just owned it. So I'm the anti-Chamber of Commerce. You're pro, I'm the anti-guy.
Port Authority on line 2 for you as Ahmed Rosario strikes out. That's the first out of the inning here for Preston Guillemette. Brandon Nimmo due up next. Let's go downstairs to Justine Ward.
Hey, Gary. Well, Brandon Nimmo is already making some adjustments as he looks to work his way out of this offensive rut. He did take some early hitting today, and here's what you need to look for. He's going to start his swing a little farther back. He's also shortening his take back. He said he feels it helps him get to the ball a little better. He also did some work with Dave Island. He doesn't like his timing with fastballs right now, so Dave Island threw him some game speed pitches, and he's hoping that this will help him get his timing back.
Great stuff, Justine. You know, we were on the field, Gary, you and I, and Brandon came over and talked to us. Yes, folks, he is as nice as you think
He really is.
And he was going out. Jacob deGrom was throwing a bullpen session, and he was going out to just stand in the box and kind of trace. I mean, if you can trace Jacob deGrom's ball, you're all set. But just trying to get himself to think a little quicker because he feels right now he's a little late on the fastball. All those things Justine said that he's doing will try to make him quicker to the ball.
Slices one the opposite way. Teoscar Hernandez not going to get there. It falls in. Nimmo around first, on his way to second. A stand-up double for Brandon Nimmo. Just one for his last 20, and so Nimmo getting off the schneid.
And you know it helps when you get a break like that. He obviously hit that off the end of the bat. You know, he didn't center it, but you'll take it. All the hard work does nothing for you if you don't get results every once in a while. And even though it's kind of a bleeder that drops in front of Hernandez, he'll take it. Watch his hands from the side. This was a really nasty pitch from Guillemette. A sinker down and away. He makes the adjustment, no take back, like Justine said, and that got him to that ball as opposed to swinging and missing.
10th double of the year for Brandon Nimmo, and so Jose Bautista, who walked in the first and flat out to right field in the third, a chance with a runner in scoring position and one out here at top of the 5th inning. Mets have got 3 home runs on the night. Cabrera and Devin Mesoraco 2-run homers, and Wilmer Flores a solo shot.
This is the part of the game where you really can't take any prisoners. Okay, you've had a nice start, hit 3 home runs, it's 5-0. You pour it on here. You add on runs so that you tell the other team it's not your night tonight.
Mets are 1 for 1 with runners in scoring position tonight. Here's the 2-1 pitch from Guillemette. And Bautista takes it on the outside corner.
Well, 2 perfect pitches by Guillemette on 2-0. 2-0, perfect slider, 2-1, perfect slider. Can he do it 3 times in a row?
27 pitches so far from Preston Guillemette. Tim Meza's gotten up in the Toronto bullpen. That one is hammered out into left field, but it is drifting foul. Well, speaking of left field, look at the guy in the background here.
Well, that's after Hernandez threw the ball to second, and now he's getting a tutorial from the guy with the nachos. I mean, please.
That's the guy you want to take advice from.
You know nachos, cheese, guacamole, and ZZ Top. That's all you know.
2-2 pitch. That one is hit again down the left field line and out of play. I'm not sure if you want to take advice from that guy or the guy who's enjoying the meal next to him.
Yeah, he's like locked in. Got the sunglasses on, not even paying attention. Not even paying attention to the game.
You know, he's got the glove in the left hand and eating with the right hand. Nimmo leads off second. Bautista.
Whoa, nice play.
Oh, tremendous play by the ball.
Do not give it to that guy. Thank you.
He didn't want him to get it.
No. I mean, the glass is down. I mean, that ball would have smoked him.
2-2 pitch from Guillemette to Jose Bautista, and that one is up high, and the count runs full.
So if you're Bautista and you know the numbers, you can almost book that you're going to see a slider here. If you're Guillemette and you're smart, you try to surprise him with a fastball. Let's see what happens.
3 on the left side of the infield here for Bautista. And he holds up, does not go around, and so Jose Bautista draws his second walk of the night. and his 26th of the season.
It was interesting, Bautista in his press conference earlier as John Gibbons comes out, looks like to take out Guillemette. He said that he is trying not to swing at bad pitches and have a good two-strike approach. That was a good job there.
So a pitching change here in Toronto. The Blue Jays going to bring in their fourth pitcher of the night, Tim Meza, on his way in. Better baseball player. Get all the stats on Mets blog presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. Tim Meza is the fourth pitcher of the night for the Toronto Blue Jays. He inherits 2 on and 1 out here in the 5th inning.
26-year-old left-hander from Millersville University of Pennsylvania. He's in to get Cabrera, turn him around, and get Conforto, but there's no one warming up in the bullpen. So if he's not able to get those guys out, he will face Wilmer Flores also.
Nimmo at second, Bautista off first, and Nimmo is picked off, and he is out at third base on the play. Bautista goes down to second. So that's a 1-5 caught stealing.
Well, that little reverse pivot by the pitcher, I've seen that work twice this year. And before then, I never saw it work once. But Nimmo was taking off on first movement, thrown out easily with the tag applied by Solarte.
So that's 2 outs now with Bautista down at second base as Cabrera has to get out of the way. Cabrera hit his 15th home run of the year in the first inning, got the Mets going. And that one is up high. What do you make of the Nimmo 4th of July Sox ahead of the holiday tomorrow?
Well, the only issue I have really is see the check swing and a bad one by Cabrera. Is that how long are the holidays now? Are they? July 4th is on July 4th, right?
Well, it's usually wrapped around.
Why?
Right, a weekend.
Why is it wrapped around anything?
They just celebrated Canada Day here, and that was like a 3-day extravaganza. You think it should just be the one day?
July 4th isn't July 4th, but I understand. I guess because people can't use it for a weekend off, they make it more into a 4 or 5 day holiday. What do I think of the Sox?
Yes, and Cabrera is sporting some 4th of July socks himself.
I am into them. I think once or twice a year, it's nice. I don't know if you guys commented or the guys commented this weekend as Callaway talks to Nimmo about well, fist bump, so he's okay with it. Talking about the uniforms that were worn in Seattle, the futuristic kind of uniforms. Now that was out there.
Wow, what was your? I was not a fan. What was your?
I'm not a fan either. I mean, untucked. A lot of guys went the Ted Kluszewski way and showing the the guns.
Full count here to Asdrubal Cabrera with Batista off second, and Tim Meza looks him back. Well, the Mets with their 4th of July uniforms on the 3rd of July. Stars and stripes. So we weren't sure if they were going to open the roof here tonight, but man, we are so happy to have it. It's just a perfect summer night for baseball.
I think they opened it because they're so sweet here, and we are like such incorrigible New Yorkers, and we just were like whining so hard that they said, let's just open it so we don't have to listen to these guys anymore.
Well, I always hear you guys when the Mets are down in Miami, right? They never seem to open the roof there, and I understand it's a different story. It's super hot there. It rains so much in Miami, but this is, just you have to have the roof open on a night like this.
It's a perfect day, perfect night.
7th pitch of the at-bat from Meza to Cabrera.
And I think as we've traveled around to see Dominic Smith looking at his at-bat or someone's at-bat and a little snack.
Could you have imagined, Roddy, when you played, if you could have had that technology on the bench with you?
The guys I played with, those would be broken within 2 or 3 innings. They would not last. Anyone went 0 for 2, 1 down.
Cabrera lacing one foul into the seats and bouncing back onto the field. The Blue Jays coming off a series split over the weekend against the Tigers. They won the first 2 games and then lost the next 2. And Cabrera works out an 11-pitch walk. As we get a look at the standings in the American League East, the Red Sox a game up over the Yankees. Yankees lost a heartbreaker in extra innings last night. Ronald Acuna Jr. hitting the game-winning home run there in the 11th inning. And there are the Jays. They're 6 games under 500, but 17 games out of first place and 14.5 behind the wild card.
I mean, because of those records of the Red Sox and Yankees, the Blue Jays, who are in 4th place like the Mets, are further out.
Michael Conforto takes a first pitch strike at 94 miles per hour from Tim Meza. Bautista leads off second. Cabrera off first. The shift is on against Conforto.
Well, this is the AL East the last 4 years. You can see their ranks and winning percentage. Playoff teams, run differential. They just, I mean, kill the rest of baseball, really, and own the American League. Think about it this way, though. One team, the Red Sox or the Yankees, whoever doesn't win that crown in the American League East, could be going home after one game. I mean, that would be the shocker.
Isn't that the way it used to be? Aside from the wild card game.
Yeah.
I mean, teams would win 96, 97 games and not get into the postseason.
Well, I played on a team that won 98 and 1985, and we went home. It was tough. You know, it's hard, but that puts a real emphasis on the Yankees and Red Sox playing the string out, and they play the last series against each other.
That will be some pretty good theater right there. Here's the 1-2, and Conforto goes down on strikes. So the Mets leave 2 aboard here as we go to the bottom of the 5th. There he is, Ronnie, doling out advice. That's the guy you want to take advice from.
Tired.
Zach Wheeler back to work for the Mets here in the bottom of the 5th inning. He's given up just 1 hit. That came off the bat of Teoscar Hernandez in the 4th, and Hernandez was gunned out second base by Brandon Nimmo.
It's almost hard to look at that average of Russell Martin, isn't it? I mean, he's just too good of a player to be batting 167.
Wheeler working quickly, takes something off it and just misses.
Martin was robbed in his first at bat by Bautista in right field with a sliding catch.
Martin, Grichuk, and Gurriel expected up here for the Blue Jays in the home half of the 5th. Here's the 2-1.
That's almost not fair. 2-1, 5-0 lead. Chevrolet zipping across the board, and you get a 2-1 hook.
That curveball has really been improved by Zach Wheeler so far this season.
Just starting now, though, to go deeper into counts.
This is the 5th full count that Wheeler has had tonight. Game 2 of this series coming up here at Rogers Center tomorrow night. Corey Oswalt's going to be on the mound for the Mets, his 2nd big league start. Marcus Stroman goes to the hill for the Blue Jays.
Oswalt's first start was a struggle against the Fish in Miami.
And Wheeler misses outside. And so that's the 3rd walk of the game that Zach Wheeler has issued.
Yeah, 2nd consecutive leadoff walk for Zach.
That brings up Randall Grichuk, who struck out in the 3rd. Martin not much of a threat to run there over at first base. So Zach Wheeler, an ERA of 6 on the button in the opening frame of games this year, and then second inning onward, it comes down by almost 2 runs. So we've seen Zach get stronger as the year has gone on, as games have gone on.
Well, even in the Dodger game where he gave up the grand slam to Cody Bellinger, that was 5 almost perfect innings before the 6th when he gave up that grand slam, and then 7 shutout innings in his last start against the Bucks.
And I thought it told us a lot, the fact that Mickey put him back out there right after giving up the grand slam for the 7th inning, and he found his way through it. Wheeler retires Grichuk and strikes him out for a second time tonight on the curveball. Or it might have been a change, Ronnie.
No, it doesn't matter right now. Anything soft, Grichuk is having trouble swinging.
Lourdes Gurriel Jr. up and down from AAA Buffalo for much of the year for the Jays.
I think Gurriel is probably a better all-around athlete, different body than his brother Yuliescu, who plays for the Astros. Yuliescu more of a kind of a heavier guy, stronger guy, kind of a power hitting guy. This guy is a great athlete who's still trying to learn how to hit.
Well, John Gibbons said that now that Gurriel is back, he's going to play him. Wants to see what he's got.
Well, 4th place, why wouldn't you? Start looking at some of these young athletes that you have.
Well, John Gibbons in his second go-round here as the manager of the Blue Jays.
Gibbons has a 2-year contract this year and next year, and then he has an option year for 2020. 505 winning percentage for John.
Former first-round pick of the Mets back in 1980. Here's the 1-1.
You know, he could really play, John, and he got injured at the end of spring training in 1984 and never ever really kind of fulfilled the potential that he had. Just one of those tough San Antonio kids.
And Wheeler gets the call on the inside corner, and the count evens at 2.
You know, Gibbons started as a bullpen catcher here, then moved to first base, as you see Devin Travis loosening up, and then finally got the managerial job from GM J.P. Ricciardi.
Hit on the ground slowly. Cabrera charges, gets the only play he has at first base, and that's the 2nd out. So let's answer our trivia. The first Canadian-born player to play for the Blue Jays.
It's one of my coaches. I know this answer. Yeah, Dave McKay.
Wow, where
was
was
the
coach
for the Diamondbacks, for the A's for all those years when they had the Bash brothers, and then when I came over, one of the greatest guys in the game. Vancouver guy.
So Devin Travis with a runner in scoring position. Wheeler misses with the breaking ball. 74 pitches for Zach to this point.
It's a big out here. I know it's 5-0, and you feel like you're cruising, and you only get up 1 hit. But if Travis gets on base, Granderson has the ability to get him close. So you got to get this out.
Blue Jays are 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position so far tonight. Oh, and that hit him.
Well, hit by a pitch and then caromed and hit Mesoraco. Catches him right on the wrist, and then it came and almost, did it catch Mesoraco in the ear? Or on the side of the head at least?
Well, Mesoraco's gotten beaten up pretty good this year. Remember the follow-through bat he took on the top of the head. But he's smiling.
Isn't it interesting, though, with the carom, it hits Mesoraco. Callaway's out there. Brian Chicklow's out there. But Devin Travis, who was hit on the wrist at first base, nobody. He's got the first base coach, maybe. No trainer, nothing. Looks like he can barely move his wrist. And he has and no love from the bench.
Well, plenty of love when Marco Estrada left the game early on. And by the way, the report on Estrada, left hip soreness, x-rays were negative.
Well, see the carom, and it hits Mesoraco on the side of the head in the helmet, but the positioning of the umpire, Jim Wolf, was right behind Mesoraco, so it kind of saves him from getting hit with the baseball. Smart man. So when he's looking at balls and strikes, Jim is anyway, Jim Wolf, he's kind of just peering over the right shoulder of Mesoraco to get his kind of angle on the strike zone.
Zach Wheeler got out of trouble in the 4th inning, trying to get out of it again here in the 5th with 2 on and 2 out, and an 0-2 count on Curtis Granderson. And Wheeler comes inside and just misses Granderson.
You know,
Joe Biagini, by the way, up in the Jays bullpen. And that one, I believe, does hit Curtis. Let's see.
Well, they're not saying it hit him. And Curtis was like, considering, what should I do? Okay, should I say it hit me? But really, honestly, I need to hit and hit a 3-run homer here. I don't think it touched him.
No, it didn't.
It's sometimes hard to face ex-teammates, especially Curtis, who was a big part of that clubhouse for 3.5 years. And what makes it difficult is that I remember when Lenny Dykstra got traded, Kevin Mitchell, and I'm telling you this, it's like I'm preaching. But when they got traded, first time I ever saw them in the box, I remember saying to myself, how do you get these guys out?
Right.
Like, you think that you pay attention whether your own hitters are up there and how other pitchers are trying to get them out. Obviously, I wasn't, because when they got up there, I had no idea. I'm like, okay, Lenny likes to walk a lot. He's got some power. You got to jam him. That's all I knew. Kevin Mitchell, just don't let him hit it out of the ballpark. That's all I knew.
Curtis Granderson off the fist. That's going to fall in right field. Around third comes Russell Martin. And it's a run-scoring double for Curtis Granderson to put the Toronto Blue Jays on the board. That's exactly what you were talking about, Ronnie.
Yeah, in this league, which is the highest league there is, you can never take anything for granted, and Dave Island's going to go out and remind him, because now he's got runners on second and third. Okay, was it a good pitch? Yes. Did it break his bat? Yes. But you're talking about a professional hitter, Granderson, who knows how to drive in runs. So now you're a base hit away from this game getting away from you. It's supposed to be in. It was up and over the middle of the plate. So even though when you're out there pitching, if you're a youngster, you always have to be on alert, because the game can get away so very quickly. And now Wheeler's in a position where he's got to get this out. If he doesn't get this out and gives up a base hit, all of a sudden you're in a game.
That's the 12th double of the season for Curtis Granderson, and 27 RBIs for the former Met and Yankee and Tiger. Teoscar Hernandez, first pitch swinging, and he fouls it back.
You know, we just showed on camera. One of the things I love about Curtis Granderson is he always has attention to detail. He always checks all the outfielders before the first pitch, make sure where they're playing, and he kind of salutes them. He's not saluting them as a friend, saluting like, I know where you are, I know where you are, I know where you are. So if it's a base hit, I know where I can score. That's one of the parts of the game that you see a lot of players missing. Curtis is old enough that he was schooled a different way than today's athlete. You know, when I watch baseball sometimes I feel like I'm watching travel ball. Well, Curtis Granderson didn't grow up playing travel ball. He knows the little things that you always have to be worried about.
Granderson, 37 years old now. Here's the 0-2 pitch, and Mesoraco knocks it down, keeps it in front of him, and keeps Devin Travis down at third base.
Mesoraco is just excellent at blocking the ball. That's supposed to be down and in. It was in the other batter's box away, and he's still able to keep it in front of him. And remember, folks, that's a splitter at 92, 93 miles an hour. You'd be surprised how fast that gets up on you.
Activity in the Mets bullpen. Robert Gazelman has gotten up to start throwing. Wheeler trying to limit the damage to just the one run. Here's the 1-2.
Hernandez fouled that off, I think his kneecap or shin. Small leg kick. I think it fouled off his ankle. This is where your teammates always yell, don't rub it. Do not rub it. It's a sign of weakness.
Yeah, and Hervis Solarte waits on deck. He would be next.
So here's an inning that should have been an easy inning. Okay, Martin's hitting 167. He walks him. You have the bottom of the order. That should have been an inning that should be in your favor. And now, because he's turned it around and now he's with the second hitter, Hernandez, he's in a little trouble.
Important pitch here from Zach Wheeler to Teoscar Hernandez. And he went around. That's strike three. And so Zach working out of trouble and limiting the damage. The Blue Jays get a run, but they strand two. It's 5-1 as we go to the sixth. Toronto, Canada. The roof is open on a just perfect night for baseball. The Mets take a 5-1 lead to the sixth inning, and Wilmer Flores leads it off. Wilmer homered in his last at bat, his 7th home run of the season. and Mesa backs him off.
Well, this is what happens when you're a hitting coach with a young phenom like Rosario, who's going through his struggles. You know, it becomes a very paternal kind of relationship as wrestler tries to impart his wisdom to a young player who probably can only hear about 25% of it. You know, it's hard to retain all the wisdom that Russell's had over his entire career to give to Rosario right now, as he looks a little dejected after his strikeout in his first at bat.
Well, we've seen improvement in recent days from Ahmed. The on-base percentage is up over his last 16 games. Wilmer fouls it straight back. He's up at 388 over those 16 games on base wise, and his walks have been up. 6 walks in his last 3 games.
A few intentional walks.
Yes.
That helps the cause.
But how about this? You know, we had a chance to visit with Mickey Callaway on this as Wilmer fouls another one back today. And, you know, the learning curve here at the big league level. And, you know, we've seen a lot of that going on, especially through these difficult times. How much teaching can you do at this level and still be a successful team?
Well, you're always teaching, right? I mean, you're always teaching. But you hope that you're teaching at a graduate school level. You hope you're not teaching at an elementary school level. I mean, I think that's the key, is that you're getting products that are coming to the major leagues that are very close to being finished products. And you're working on some really unique things that are just...
Wilmer reaches out, but it's going to go foul.
Are just inherent to the game at a graduate level. Little things that'll make you excellent. Now, when you have to coach a team through things that are very elemental, then you've got yourself a bad team. You know, that's how it goes.
What about new voices, Ron? I know Pat Rustler is here, but Kevin Long was the hitting coach a season ago. Is there something to be made of that? That one's just to the right of us.
To me, and I think this is important to hear, as far as coaching is concerned, they are so hardworking. They're the blue-collar people of our sport, and they do an amazing job each and every day of being here for these athletes. But at some point, you're in charge of your own career. I mean, you're a Major League Baseball player. You can't be whining about a coach not doing something or doing something. He should be helping you move forward, but you should be helping yourself jump forward.
11th pitch of the at-bat. Flores into right center field. Long run over there, and getting to it is Randall Grichuk. Reaching out for out number 1. Wilmer bidding for extra bases, but Grichuk would have none of it.
Kind of a funny route by Grichuk there. He gets to that baseball, but if he had played that a little deeper as opposed to cutting off in front of a Pilar, it would have been a little easier catch for Randall.
Brings up Todd Frazier. A couple of ground balls so far tonight. He grounded out to short in the 2nd and to 3rd in the 4th inning. Todd's numbers on the road have not been very good, beginning the night hitting under the Mendoza line at $194 away from Citi Field.
Well, I think his last couple of seasons, you've seen that Todd is not going to hit probably for a high average. The key for Todd, though, is he's got to do some damage. I mean, in the home run department and in the RBI department.
Well, and you know, Ronnie, one of the things about Todd Frazier we heard so much when he signed this offseason was that as we get a look at his projections, that the on-base percentage was way up with the Yankees last year at 344, if I'm not mistaken, and that has not translated this year.
He was walking before he got on the disabled list. He was walking a lot and getting on base, hitting the ball the other way. And we're giving these guys a break because our projection is on 162 games, which no one plays 162 games anymore. But 18 and 62 certainly would be short of what Todd would expect from himself as an everyday player.
Nobody does play all those games. You know how many games Kevin Pillar has played this year? 84 games.
Yeah.
You started 81 of them, but he's a rare exception in the game today. You are the target for everyday players is in that as Frazier hits one out into shallow right field. And Devin Travis makes the catch in the 140s for most everyday players. Let's check in with CJ Papa in the studio. Game break brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. All right, CJ, the Nationals in danger of falling back to 500 on the season tonight. So that game break, very different for me to be on this end. Rather, I was in the studio doing those on Sunday.
My theory is this, Gary. On your end, when you're in the studio, whoever's doing that hit, I know how it works because I've been in the studio before. And they're on a time. And they're counting them down, and they sound very excitable because they're trying to get everything in before they tell them at 1 and 0 out, wrap it up.
I try to streamline, so we don't get into that. But yes, it can feel very rushed at times as Dominic Smith, with the shift on, goes the opposite way, and that one is going to fall in. Dominic Smith around first, on his way to second. And it's a ground rule double, second double of the game for Dominic. The first one was out to right field, this one into left.
Well, this is what you love to see, is Dominic Smith having a chance here in this game to go coast to coast. Because no matter how they think he could be a power hitter, his strength is doubles and hitting the ball all over the field.
So Tim Mesa's night is over. Joe Biagini on his way in from the bullpen, fifth pitcher of the night for the Jays. '27-year-old Joe Biagini is the fifth pitcher of the night for the Blue Jays. The right-hander with Dominic Smith on second and Devin Mesoraco at the plate.
Well, Biagini is a Bay Area kid. 44 games last year, 18 of them starts. Pop Rob played for the San Francisco Giants minor league system in 1982. And you see 20 games this year, nightmare.
Dominic Smith down at second. It's his first 2-double game of the season.
You know, I was always taught when you get in the stretch, you want to be as relaxed as you can, kind of like your shoulders sloped. Watch the position Biagini gets in. He gets in where he holds his hands away from his body, so he's so taut before he releases a pitch. Hard to do. Like you want to, just like when you hit, we've seen many guys, whether they bounce the bat on their shoulder or they kind of put it in a position where it's resting against part of their body, they want to be totally relaxed with their fingers before they go to hit. That's how you want to be pitching. Totally relaxed until you have to explode. He doesn't look relaxed.
1-2 here to Devin Mesoraco with Dominic Smith off second, and we'll do it again.
But you can't teach a dog new tricks. I mean, he probably has pitched this way since he was a kid. It's just how it goes.
So you mentioned, you know, that's how he's probably done it his whole life. So this learning new things, whether it's Rosario shortening up on his swing, or Dominic Smith moving closer to the plate, it's not as easy as it sounds, right? Is that fair estimation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a big change in their eyes from what they've done their entire life.
Biagini took something off it, and Dominic Smith is stranded down at second. Mets get a hit, but they can't push anything aboard. A better winning percentage than the American League, which has not been the case for much of the last, decade or so.
I mean, very simply, some of the best players in all of baseball are in the American League. Simple as that. Look at a team like Toronto, 14 games under 500. Their interleague record, 7-3.
Yeah, and Hervé Solarte pops one a mile high out into right field. Batista coming in, settles under, and makes the catch.
That Mesoraco talking to himself. I think Solarte on his follow through catches him on top of the helmet. Gee, it's like
he almost looks like resigned, defeated. It's happened to him so often this year.
Like a pin cushion back there.
Zach Wheeler now at 88 pitches on the night. Ouch.
It's like, you gotta be kidding me. He'd be madder if it was a hit, but it was an out, so he could take it.
Justin Smoke takes a called strike one. He flied out to center field in the 8th inning and walked in the 4th. Roller to the right side. Smith goes over, shovels to Wheeler. 2 outs. So the American League has finished 17 of the last 21 seasons with a winning record against the National League. Interleague play began back in 1997. And I think it just goes to what you're saying, Ron, the fact that the American League, you know, the DH, right? So you've got that extra power hitter.
That's the big thing, is that over the course of what we just showed you there, is that the American League club is built with that extra bat. Now, that's not always the case now, where they use the DH position on a lot of ball clubs in the American League to kind of give guys days off. But there was a day when a big slugger was on every team in the American League, and they were built just for that edge, that DH. So what would the American League team have? They'd have some kind of a versatile player off the bench who was an infielder, would be their DH, going up against a guy like Ortiz. Definite advantage.
Zach Wheeler again working quickly. 1-2 hit out into center field. That's going to drive Brandon Nimmo back at the edge of the warning track. And he runs it down. So 1-2-3 inning for Zach Wheeler. And the Mets take a 5-1 lead to the 7th. We go top 7 here in Toronto. Mets with a 5-1 lead over the Blue Jays, and the bottom of the order, Ahmed Rosario. 0 for 2, grounded out and struck out. Joe Biagini is the 5th pitcher of the night for the Blue Jays. Defense straight up against Rosario. Hit hard right to shortstop. Gurriel goes down to a knee, gets up, and that's the first out. Let's go downstairs to Justine Ward.
Hey, Gary, well, I know some jokes have been made about it, but the Mets are taking this whole undefeated in July thing seriously. Brandon Nimmo told me this is a fresh start for us, and we're really taking it that way, that we really can do some things here in July. And he told me that the team made sure to do a big dinner when they got here in Toronto. And the thing is, when a team isn't winning, things can go sour very quickly in a clubhouse. But this Mets team, they're trying to remain very positive. They're being honest about the situation, but they want to bring the energy. They want to stay positive.
Well, Justine, we had a chance, as you were mentioning earlier, Ronnie, to visit with Brandon Nimmo, who spoke about the dinner they had, right? It called his first big league dinner.
That's
with,
right.
Jose Batista.
Which is a shame that it took this long.
But Brandon was saying, you know, it was needed, and he thought it was useful.
Well, the thing I found as remarkable, maybe not as remarkable, because they were coming to Toronto, and Jose Bautista, of course, knows every perfect place to go here in Toronto. He's the one that precipitated the dinner. And in my day, we used to call it a big league dinner. It meant that, you know, 20 or so guys would end up taking over a room. But it's so important and crucial for a team to have those kinds of nights where you spend time with each other away from the ballpark and talk about things that are not always baseball related. It helps you to grow. You know, some people don't believe in the chemistry of teams. I'm not one of them. And it's so important that, as Nimmo sprints down to first base, that you just have those moments. I was telling Brandon that in 1984, the Mets were in a race with the Chicago Cubs. We lost all 4 games. Every game was just about the same. We pitched pretty well and then get dented in the 6th or 7th inning. When we got to St. Louis after the 4-game sweep, Davey Johnson took us to a steakhouse, and we all ate together as a team after a 4-game sweep. That's important. Those are important things over the course of a 6-month season. And that it happened for the first time with Nimmo, and that it happened with a guy who's only been with the club a month, is pretty remarkable to me.
Well, Michael Conforto, I had a chance to visit with him as well, and he was raving about the dinner as well. So, listen, this is a team that coming off a 5-21 month of June, winning their first game in July, knocking off the Marlins on Sunday. They've only had 2 winning streaks since their 9-game winning streak came to an end on the 14th of April. So they won 4 in a row, 18th to 21st of May against Arizona and Miami, and then 3 games from June 16th through the 18th, a couple of against Arizona and then 1 against Colorado. But you know, it's been a long haul, 12 consecutive series.
Gary, it's more important when you're a bad team than when you're a good team, because what it is proving to all your teammates is that we're in together through thick or thin, good or bad, wins or losses. I've got your back. That's why those dinners are important.
3-0 and a big cut for Bautista.
Well, Ron, my question for you, especially with the Mets, when they're hearing all these rumors, how taxing can that be on the clubhouse to try and keep it together and remain united?
I think it can be taxing, Justine, but I think that, you know, these guys have been in baseball a long time. Nimmo takes off. I think this ball will go in the stands. These guys have been in baseball a long time. Your friends, your acquaintances, guys you grew up playing with, are going to be traded and moved on to other organizations. So you don't really worry about that. And if you're really centered on how to play the game of baseball, it's right now, present time. You don't worry about things that can happen in the future. So just let's make tonight great and then worry about tomorrow. And I think that's how most baseball players try to think.
Here's the 3-2 now from Biagini to Jose Batista. Nimmo takes off, and it's ball 4, and so the Mets have 2 on here in the 7th.
That's 6 walks as John Gibbons makes his 6th walk.
Aaron Loup is on his way in here for the Blue Jays. Asdrubal Cabrera on his way up with 2 on. Aaron Loup is the 6th pitcher of the night for the Toronto Blue Jays. He comes in with 2 on and 1 out facing Asdrubal Cabrera. Cabrera 0 for 3 lifetime off Loup.
Loup is that unusual lefty, drops to the side from Louisiana, went to Tulane. Big part of that bullpen, 70 games last year for these Blue Jays, and he is a guy that is being scouted by many of the contending teams to help be a specialist in their bullpen. Pitches from that furthest side closer to first base. You see very few lefties get on that side of the rubber, but because he drops down, it gives him a little better angle, like almost like his arm is coming from second base when he releases the ball.
Loup making his first appearance since last Wednesday against the Astros.
I wonder if this is a organizational thing. I remember the late great Roy Halladay, when he would have a setup, his setup was extremely closed, and most pitchers think about pitching from a real close position because they want to keep that front shoulder in. You know, that's why you do it originally. But sometimes it can become an organizational thing where they teach a lot of the young pitchers to make sure if you're going to stay close, let's start from a closed position.
Nimmo off second, Bautista off first, and that one's inside, and the count evens at 2. Righty's hitting .298 off Loup so far this season. Took something off it, and Cabrera goes down for the first time tonight.
Well, through this good stretch, Asdrubal has not swung at very few pitches out of the strike zone, but he did there.
That brings up Michael Conforto. He's hitless on the night. A couple of strikeouts, and he grounded into a double play in the third inning. First pitch swinging, Conforto into right field. That gets down up against the wall. One run is in. Bautista going to be held up at third, and it's an RBI double for Michael Conforto, who jumps right on that first pitch from Aaron Loup.
Well, last time up, Conforto got punched out on a breaking ball in the dirt, so he wasn't going to wait. Even though it was kind of a cutter away, he was ready for it and hooked it into right field. Back runner Bautista, 37 years old. Nice play by Grichuk to get to it and get it in. Only a misplay by Grichuk, or if it takes a funny bounce off the right field wall, will Bautista score. So Sherlock holds him up.
So the Mets have opened this lead to 6-1 and a chance to do more damage. Wilmer Flores with runners at second and third. First pitch swinging out to center field. Kevin Pillar has it lined up. And that's the third out, but the Mets get a run on the Conforto double, his 10th of the season. He is the new catcher for the Mets, as Devin Mesoraco took that follow through off top of his helmet, and so Plawecki takes over behind the plate.
This was in between innings with Glenn Sherlock and, more importantly, Brian Chiclo. You can see he is doing the concussion regimen to Mesoraco to make sure he's all right. So I would think, just precautionary reasons, they decided to bring Plawecki in, because Mesoraco feels fine. Looks like he answered all the questions you're supposed to answer.
Well, that last inning for Zach Wheeler, 8 pitches, was important, right? Because it got him here to the 7th
That's
inning.
right. The only issue is that you have a new catcher, and Mesoraco and Wheeler were styling together, you know, so it's important for Plawecki to know what's been going on and to stay on page.
And Russell Martin goes down on strikes. First out here in the bottom of the 7th.
That's the best chest protector in baseball, right? I mean, if you're going to celebrate the 4th, that's what you got to feature.
The question is, would Johnny Bench wear that chest protector?
Yes, he would.
He would.
Yes, he would. I mean, things were done different in those days. I think Johnny Bench would love to. wear something like that. It's good looking.
Randall Grichuk takes a first pitch strike. By the way, Johnny Bench, I had never met Johnny Bench before. Moved in across the street from my wife's parents, and could not have been more lovely and engaging.
Yeah, he's a real character. He's got a great personality. We had him on the air this year, didn't we?
Yes, with Steve.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was one of the interviews for the ages.
Yeah, he's a special dude. You know, and if you're a ball player that changes the way, revolutionizes the game on how other people play the game, that's who Johnny Bench was. I mean, catchers before Johnny, almost all of them caught with two hands. And if you meet them today, they've got knuckles and fingers all displaced everywhere. He caught with one hand, his other hand behind his shin guard. That's revolutionary. We see it all the time now, but no one did it until Johnny Bench did it.
He was a game changer. And wasn't he supposed to have huge hands?
Huge hands. Could hold 8 baseballs in one hand.
Wasn't there a famous picture with the...
He and Jim Bibby were the only guys I knew who could hold 8 baseballs in one hand.
So Zach Wheeler now at 106 pitches. One more than his last start. He went 7 innings, 105 pitches against the Pirates last time out, and then 114 the start before that as Grichuk lines one into right field, gets past Batista out in right field. Grichuk around second, on his way to third. Batista the relay, and Grichuk is going to hold up there at third. So that's going to be a single and then a 2-base error on Bautista out in right field.
Listen, Bautista was thinking of throwing Grichuk out at first base. That's why he might have missed that baseball. It was hit so hard on the button that he was going to one-hop it and gun it into first base and try to get an out. And instead, it's a base hit and a 2-base error, I would believe. And the end of the night for Zach Wheeler.
So Mickey Callaway out to make a pitching change. Mets lead at 6-1. Zach Wheeler done for the night, 6 1/3, 107 pitches. Anthony Swarzak, first batter he sees, and that's Gurriel, slide to the bag there by Dominic Smith. A run scores to make it a 6-2 game. Let's go back to the studio. Here's CJ Papa with a game update.
See the numbers for Swarzak this year. His last 3 appearances have been scoreless as he's trying to break out of that little funk he's been in since coming off the disabled list.
Facing the number 9 hitter here, Devin Travis. So that's an unearned run.
Well, this is a cool thing. 1 year ago today, you see the numbers for Anthony Swarzak. It's one of the reasons he got that nice contract from the Mets is that he had an outstanding season for the White Sox and the Brewers after he was traded. It's been more of a struggle this year.
That's in there for a called strike at 94. How much of that, Ronnie, can be attributed to the amount of time that he has missed, especially time this spring? Is there anything to that, or you're a veteran?
Yeah,
you've got to pitch.
I'm less empathetic about players coming off injuries and using that as kind of a buffer or an excuse for
which he hasn't done.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying he's doing that at all. I'm just saying that at this level, in a professional athlete, if you say you're good to go, then you can't be bad and judge it any other way than bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't say, boy, I missed a lot of time, my control is off. Well, you should have taken more time maybe to come back when your control is on. So you're just not allowed that push that maybe an amateur athlete would use.
Here's the 3-2 now to Travis, who takes it outside. And the Jays have another base runner. Game 2 of this series coming up tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat channel. Mets and the Blue Jays. Our coverage getting underway at 6:30 with City pregame live.
You more of an Adam West or a Burt Ward fan?
Well, listen, I think Adam West, classic. I know the boy wonder had his charm. Top of the order now, Curtis Granderson. Amazing. I said one night in the studio, signing off, same bat time, same bat channel. Everybody in the studio looked at me like, what are you talking about?
Gary, we're old, dude.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's it. It's simply that.
It mortified me just a little bit.
You know, this game, the Mets are fully in control, 6-2, okay? But when you look at this game in a microcosm, you see little mistakes that you could get better at. If this game was tight, a 9th place hitter who has struggled to hit this year, you've hit him with a pitch, and now you've walked him in the 9th hole in front of Granderson, who's got serious power. Those are mistakes you can't make in closer games. This game, you might be able to get away with it.
Here's the 2-1 now from Swarzak to Granderson. That's hit out into right field, and that is fair ball up against the wall. Travis going to stop down at third. That's a stand-up double for Curtis Granderson, his 2nd double of the night.
Fastball in, not enough on it. Granderson hops the wall. Interesting play here by Bautista. I think he felt as though he had a play on Granderson, but he did not. Usually you see that ball into the cutoff man, first or second baseman. I think this is a good move by Dave Island coming out here. You know, certainly Swarzak is not at the top of his confidence right now. Been hit around a little bit. And this is, again, one of those huge outs. I don't know, I guess I'm just one of those old-time paranoid baseball player. Like, you have to get these outs. You can't allow Toronto in a game like this that you've really owned the entire night to think that they're in this game.
Well, the same situation Teoscar Hernandez was in that fifth inning, and a big cut and a strike one from Anthony Swarzak.
That's the pitch that struck him out, that slider. So going right back to the well is Swarzak, even though he has a different one than Wheeler. And remember, in the game when the Jays were trailing 5-0, he got thrown out at second base on a single to left center that Nimmo made a nice play on.
Devin Travis leads off third, Granderson off second, and here's the 1-1 from Swarzak, and in there for a called strike two, and so Swarzak ahead in the count.
So Dominic Smith in this defense is playing way off the line. Earlier in this inning, the ground ball to Smith, Swarzak did not cover. So being that far off the line, Swarzak's got to make sure if the ball's put in play to get over there.
That one gets away, and here comes Travis, and he is safe as the ball slips away, and Dominic Smith there to back it up, and Granderson thought about it for a moment, but he holds on down at third. But the Blue Jays on the wild pitch have cut this lead back to 6-3.
Breaking ball in the dirt. I think Plawecki will tell you that's a ball he's got to handle and keep in front. I wonder if having a new chest protector that isn't broken in as much as your regular chest protector provided that extra carom to get away from Plawecki. I don't know.
So an error by Batista and a wild pitch have led to 2 runs here for the Blue Jays.
Well, this is good base running by Travis. You know, you get that bigger lead at third base now, and the 9th place hitter who was walked ends up scoring a run to get the Blue Jays closer.
Now, Herbert Solarte is on deck. He would be next. Here's the 2-2. That one is fouled off down the right side.
We can see the swing by Hernandez. He's been unable to cover that ball in the outside park area, so he's trying to shoot that ball to right field. If you're a pitcher and catcher and you read that, then you've got to feel as though he's vulnerable inside with something hard. Fastball in would work. Staying away.
Sliced down the right field line. It's going to be back about 15 rows into the seats.
Decent foul territory here at the Rogers Center. Decent for pitchers and defense, not for the hitters.
If you've never been here, this is a massive structure. 31 stories high, I believe. During their heyday, they used to fill this place every single night. Here we go again, the 2-2 from Swarzak to Teoscar Hernandez. So the Rogers Center opened in 1989. It was known as the Sky Dome. Holds 50,598. Became the first park to welcome 4 million fans. That was back in 1991.
You do the math, that's over 50,000 people a night.
Granderson leads off third. And Hernandez holds his swing, and the count goes full.
One of the few sliders or fastballs, anything away, that has not gotten or gone the pitcher's direction.
And that ball is up high, and that is the second walk of the inning. And the Mets are going back to the bullpen. Mickey Callaway on his way to the mound, and Robert Gazelman is on his way in as the Blue Jays will bring the tying run to the plate. Mets facing Jan Hervis Solarte with runners at first and third.
You see his numbers there. He's 6th in the majors in innings pitched, 7th for relievers with 47 Ks. Just wonder if all that work has affected Gazelman, because he's gone through a struggle of late. Solarte just tried to take in Bridge. Big swing. It's his last 2 appearances. 27 pitches to get it 3 outs against Miami. And before that, not good against Pittsburgh.
Gave up the 2 runs against the Marlins, but they were both unearned. The error at shortstop in that game by Ahmed Rosario. Here's the 1-2 from Gazelman to Solarte.
Well, what was working for Gazelman before was the sinking fastball down and away, And the ball has been up in the strike zone. That really has been his issue.
This is the 38th pitch of the inning by the Mets. Solarte 2 for 4 lifetime off Gazelman. Mets raced out to a 5-0 lead. The Jays have chipped away. They've got the tying run at the plate here in the bottom of the 7th inning with 2 out and runners at 1st and 3rd. That ball is hit out into right field. Back goes Batista to the track and to the wall, and that is gone. Yangervis Solarte. A 3-run homer, his 16th of the season. And the Jays have come all the way back to tie this game at 6-6.
Well, if you leave a team in it long enough, they're one swing away from being back in a game. And that's what the Mets have done. Change up by Gazelman. The pitch was down, but right in Solarte's wheelhouse.
Justin Smoke into foul ground, long run, and there is Frazier to make the catch. So Zach Wheeler is not going to get a win tonight. Again, still hasn't had one since back on the 29th of April. It's a 6-6 game.
From Gazelman to Solarte. Earlier in the at-bat, he dropped to one knee. He likes the ball down. The ball up is his Achilles heel. The ball down he can handle. So you can say to yourself, it's a pretty good pitch, but not against Solarte. Here's the contact. Even though it's down and away, he's able to flip him to right field.
John Exford is the new pitcher here for the Blue Jays. He is their 7th pitcher of the night, 35 years old. The veteran right-hander facing Frazier, Smith, and Plawecki, and a first pitch strike.
Axford is a Canadian born in Ontario. He's a guy that had his best years in 2010, 11, and 12 in Milwaukee when he saved 24, 46, and 35 games.
Took a little something off it. Gets ahead.
Simcoe, Ontario, which is about 40 minutes away from here. 6'5", 220. Great big overhand curveball. He's lost a little bit on his velocity.
And Todd Frazier goes down on 3 pitches. So before this half inning started, there's Mickey Callaway. And listen, we've seen this happen, Ronnie, so many times this year where starting pitchers perform beautifully, in line for wins, and they don't get wins. Well, and that does begin to certainly wear on you.
Well, if you look at the numbers of the Mets starting pitching, there's no correlation between how well they pitched and how poorly the team has played in June. We're getting to a place now where really what you're doing, the strength of the Mets team is their starting pitching, is when you take the starting pitcher out like Wheeler, you're really just bringing in a pitcher, and nothing against Gazelman or anyone else you bring in who's not as talented as the pitcher you're taking out. So, in a game that is been changed from a starting pitcher's game to a bullpen game by the powers that be, what has happened is if you don't have a good bullpen, then you end up with games like this. You take out a person who's talented, and Mickey's doing it by the book, but the book is no good because the guys you're bringing in aren't as talented as the guy you're taking out.
Blue Jays have 3 on the right side of the infield against Dominic Smith, who's got a couple of doubles tonight. First time Smith has had multiple doubles in a game. And 97 from John Axford for the second out.
What we saw earlier in this game, Dominic Smith with a real relaxed, controlled swing that produced 2 doubles, a kind of a wild swing that produces a strikeout.
So Kevin Plawecki is first at bat of the night. He replaced Devin Mesoraco behind the plate in the 7th. Mets led this game 5-0. Going to the bottom of the 5th inning. But the Blue Jays have come all the way back to tie it at 6. And a night when Marco Estrada got the start for the Jays and lasted just a dozen pitches, leaving with left hip soreness.
He was looking at the Larry, though.
Hit on the ground, shortstop. That's Gurriel. Plenty of time. So 1-2-3 inning for John Axford. And we go to the bottom of the 8th, tied at 6. Sloan Kettering Cancer Center is back, teaming up with the New York Jets. We're looking to help local football leagues with grants, equipment donations, clinics, and Jets game experiences. Does your league need assistance? Apply today at sny.tv/playball. So we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Fourth pitcher of the night for the Mets is the young right-hander Tim Peterson.
Already in his 10th game, they're using him a lot now. He's become a big part of that bullpen. Right-handers were 0 for 22 off him until he gave up a hit in Miami to a right-handed hitter. Here facing Pilar.
Cameron Maben took him deep on Sunday down at Marlins Park.
Maben's first home run of the year.
It's Pilar, Martin, and Grichuk. Here in the Toronto 8th. Popped up. Cabrera going out. Nimmo coming in, makes the dive. And Brandon Nimmo makes a terrific catch out in center field for the first out.
What a play by Nimmo. Got an incredible jump on that ball. A lot of times you'll sometimes pause until you figure out where it is. He got a great jump, and I'll tell you, you end up getting an AstroTurf burn when you dive like this. You saw as soon as we picked him up, he was on full stride to get to that baseball. Nice play by Nimmo.
Second really good outfield defensive play we've seen by the Mets tonight. Nimmo made one, Bautista made the other. But of course, Bautista's error certainly a big part of that 5-run 7th inning by the Blue Jays as they've come back to tie it here. And now Russell Martin. Bautista took a hit away from him in that 2nd inning. He walked in the 5th and struck out in the 7th. That one's hit in the air out to right field. Bautista gliding back, and he makes the catch. That's the 2nd out of the inning.
You know, when you watch on regular turf, you see sand coming up. What you see is those old kind of rubber tires that are kind of granulated to be filler in the AstroTurf. Also hit his knee pretty hard on that play.
So Randall Grichuk with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 8th, and Peterson misses down and a little bit away.
Grichuk's the 7th place hitter, but he probably has as much power as anyone on that Blue Jays team.
We're going to look tonight's starters, brought to you by People's United Bank. Zach Wheeler pitched very well again. Marco Estrada lasted just a dozen pitches.
I don't know what else you can say about Wheeler. He goes out just about each and every time and gives you a strong effort, and it's not to be.
Oh. And Peterson hits Grichuk in the back. So the Jays have a base runner.
Just a breaking ball that gets away from him, catches him in the left tricep. Grichuk is like the human muscle. That doesn't hurt.
'22-year-old Lourdes Gurriel Jr. hitless on the night.
Good job by Peterson. You have to keep Grichuk close. He's not a true base stealer, but he has a couple and hasn't been thrown out this year. Watch the splitter grip by Peterson as it comes out. It's a lot of space in between his fingers and his fingertips. Very hard to control that, as obviously he hits the batter. But usually a split finger is buried more in the palm and then the 2 fingers than that grip by Peterson.
That misses inside.
So he really uses it as, if you hold it like that, you're using it more as a breaking pitch as opposed to a change of pace pitch.
Coming up following WB Mason post-game live, it's Geico Sports Night. All the latest from around baseball, World Cup quarterfinals preview, and of course they'll be eating hot dogs at Nathan's tomorrow.
Joey Chestnut.
We'll weigh in tomorrow ourselves to run.
Very nice.
That's hit hard out to left field. Gurriel bidding for a home run, and that is up and that is out, and the Blue Jays have taken an 8-6 lead as Lourdes Gurriel, his 4th home run of the season, coming on a 1-1 pitch.
Well, I'm pretty sure that was the split finger that stayed down and in to Gurriel. And the Mets got ahead in this game with their own 2-run home run shots, and the Jays go ahead on a 2-run home run. And it was the split finger, just stayed in the middle of the plate, one-handed out of here by Gurriel.
So the Mets bullpen has absolutely imploded here tonight, but it's not like we haven't seen this before.
Well, we talked earlier, the offense had a chance to add on and many chances and wasn't able to do that.
Devin Travis.
You really feel as if you're a starting pitcher, if you don't get 21 outs, you have a very small chance of good things happening. You can see the bullpen. Team started out 12-2, ERA is 1.51 after that.
That went up the middle into center field for a base hit.
Well, breaking ball away. Travis does a good job just going up the middle. The Mets have walked 5 tonight, and they've hit a couple batters. 3 of the walks have come in, and 1 of the hit batters has come in to score. That's 4 of the runs right there.
So Tim Peterson got the first 2 outs in relatively quick fashion here. Nimmo made a terrific play in center on Pilar, and then Martin fied out to right field, but then a hit by a pitch, and the Gurriel home run, and now a single by Devin Travis.
Surprised Blevins is not in here, even though you got some right-handers and switch hitters coming up. But Peterson looks like he's done his job.
Granderson's guys went into shallow left. Conforto makes the catch, but the damage certainly was done. Gurriel, the go-ahead home run. It's 8-6 Blue Jays. the ninth inning. They've squandered a 5-0 lead. John Axford out there for a second inning of work.
Axford's throwing pretty hard. He's out there because their closer to start the season, Roberto Osuna, in a domestic flap, suspended 75 games by Major League Baseball.
And potentially facing criminal issues, so there's no real clue on when he might be back for Toronto. Rosario, Nimmo, and Bautista due up here for the Mets in the ninth inning. Hit on the ground to the right side. Smoke knocks it down, picks it up. And that's the first out. Watch SNY Mets games on the go on any device with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Look at the Mets box score. Again, they jumped out to that early lead. They got 3 early home runs, built a 5-0 cushion. It has not been enough.
I said this the other night when I was talking about 3-run home runs. How many games do you lose when your team hits a 3-run home run? You don't lose many games when you have 3 home runs by your squad either.
Asdrubal Cabrera, 2-run shot in the first inning. Mesoraco, another in the second. And then a solo shot by Wilmer Flores in the fourth inning, and the Mets were seemingly in control. When we're finished here, the guys back in the studio, Eamon McEnany and Nelson Figueroa, will break it down. Blue Jays have 3 on the right side. Sabarte is on the right side of second. Here's the 1-2 to Nimmo.
Boy, even Nimmo's frowning.
As Gary calls him, the happiest man in baseball, and that's in there for a called strike 3. 96 from John Axford for the second out here in the ninth.
Boy, Axford is showing me something tonight. Going a second inning, having that kind of velocity on his fastball, and his placement almost perfect. Fastball inside, doesn't get much better than that.
Axford has now struck out at least 1 batter in 26 of his 36 outings. He's got 3 strikeouts in the 5 batters he's faced tonight. Jose Bautista, the final chance for the Mets, and he's backed off.
We came into this game talking about Bautista and his first return here to Toronto. Fans were standing cheering him before the game and before his first at bat, but now cheering for a Toronto win.
That one into center field. It gets down as Pilar cuts it off, and the Mets are going to get the tying run to the plate.
Bautista on base 4 times in tonight's game. 3 walks and this bullet to left center. Pilar had inklings there for a second of trying to go for that baseball, but was more prudent and played it on the hop.
So it's the first hit that Axford has given up tonight. Tyler Clippard remains up in the Blue Jays bullpen. Asdrubal Cabrera, the tying run at the plate. He homered his 15th of the year in that first inning. He's been on base 3 times tonight. The home run and a couple of walks. If Cabrera can get on, Michael Conforto waits on deck. Bautista leads off first. Here's the 1-1 now from Axford to Asdrubal Cabrera.
That was a big league pitch by Axford. 2-1, the advantage to Cabrera. Looking for a fastball, got a curveball.
Once again, Solarte moves to the right side of the infield. It's Solarte, Travis, and Smoke on the right side. Just Gurriel on the left. It would be nice to see Cabrera bookend his night. That 2-run home run in the first inning, a 2-run homer here would tie this game up at 8. Mets down to their final strike. Bautista will be running. And that's inside, and the Mets have first and second with 2 outs, and Conforto coming up. And John Gibbons on his way to the mound. And Tyler Clippard, the former Met, is on his way into the game. So another pitching change for the Blue Jays. Clippard on his way in. So Reyes is at first. Jose Bautista is at second. He kept this game alive with the single out into center field. And Tyler Clippard is the new pitcher for the Blue Jays.
Well, Clippard pitched for 3 teams last year. The Yankees, he started out with the Chicago White Sox and ended up with the world champions, the Houston Astros. Pitched for the Mets, of course, in 15. Was strong down the stretch in 32 games, winning 4, an ERA just above 3.
Tyler Clippard has appeared in 42 games so far this season. First time Conforto has faced Clippard.
So Clippard's strength is that he has great arm action, all arms and legs at you, and he's got a great change. And that's what Conforto saw there. I doubt he'll see more than that. Maybe an occasional fastball up out of the strike zone, but his bread and butter is his changeup.
And Conforto takes that up high. Count evens at 1. Michael had an RBI double in that 7th inning. Put the Mets up 6-1. Seems like a million years ago.
One swing of the bat cures all those ills.
Conforto with 10 home runs on the season. Number 11 would put the Mets in front. Hit on the ground, down to first, gets past Smoke, Clippard covers, and that is the 3rd out and the final out here in Toronto tonight as Tyler Clippard comes in to get the ground ball out, and the Mets fall by a final of 8-6 to the Toronto Blue Jays. 3 hours and 13 minutes.
Well, on Bautista's first night back in Toronto, he got on base 4 times with 3 walks and a base hit in the 9th. Cabrera had a 2-run home run. Mets hit 3 home runs. The Blue Jays lost their starter after 12 pitches. Wheeler pitched a strong game, and the Mets still lose.
So the Mets winning streak here in the